everyone, I'm Whitney and I post a new sewing tutorial every single Wednesday here on my YouTube channel, Whitney Sews. Today I'm going to show you how I made two cute little dresses for my daughter, Peyton. And before we get into the project, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any of my future tutorials. This is a really neat dress to make because depending on the fabric you use, it can be anything from a dress-up dress, just a regular everyday dress, or a really fancy dress. This dress doesn't actually have any closures at all, and the way that it works, even though we're not using stretch fabric, is because there's elastic in the straps, and then the top part does fit a little bit big, and then you use the ties at the waist to just tie the back and bring in any of the excess material, and so it looks super cute. Oh, and the dress is fully finished inside and out without having to use a serger. I drafted a really quick pattern for the dress based on a dress that Peyton already has and likes, and I will have that pattern available in a size 2T/3T because that is the size that I used for my daughter. Now, if that is not the size of dress that you need, you can definitely draft your own pattern. You can use a dress or loose-fitting tank top or maybe even a commercial pattern that you already have and just adapt it to fit this project. Just make sure your pattern is that one size larger so there is the wiggle room to get the dress on and off. And of course I will have some extra measurements and details and things along with that pattern I mentioned over on my website whitneysews.com, and it will be linked right up here in the information icon for you. Now let's get into the actual project. Select the materials that you want to use. I went with a red polka dot cotton for the top and then blue with white stars for the bottom, and this is actually a piece of flannel that I just happen to have in my stash, and I also used some yellow trim. Fold the material for the top so your pattern fits on and cut it out. Repeat to cut out 4 from the pattern, refolding each time just enough material for the pattern to fit on. You will need those 4 pieces for the dress, top, outside, and lining, 2 straps, 2 ties, and 1 piece for the bottom of the skirt. Open the skirt piece up and fold one of the long edges up, then fold it over again. Sew along the edge to create a double fold hem. I sewed mine twice with contrasting thread because I like the look of it. The way we're going to finish off the inside of the dress is with French seams. So lay the skirt piece wrong sides together, lining up the short edges. Sew down the side with a small seam allowance. Flip it inside out so the pretty sides are now touching. Sew along the same side as before with a slightly larger seam allowance to finish off the French seam and encase the raw edges. For the waist ties, fold the piece in half, then fold back the top edges, sew across the short end, turn it right sides out, and top stitch down the long side. I'll link another video in the information icon where I show this step a little better. Now onto the straps. These should be about 2 times longer than normal straps. Fold them in half, right sides together, and sew along the long edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Turn the straps right sides out and iron flat with the seam going down the center on one side. Cut a piece of elastic for each strap, add a safety pin to one end, and feed the elastic into the strap. Sew a line of stitches across each end to hold the elastic in place. Place one of the top pieces right sides up and lay the ties on top so the long sides are facing inward. If you're using my pattern, it's marked where the ties go. If not, make sure they are at least 1 inch up from the bottom edge. Lay one of the other top pieces on top, right sides together, and sew up both sides with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Place the other 2 top pieces right sides together and sew along the sides as well. Flip the one with the ties right sides out and place the straps on top with the seam side facing up. I didn't do it, but you want to extend the ends past the top about a 1/2 inch for security. Sew across the ends to attach. Bring the other end of the strap around to the back side and sew it to attach. Make sure the seam of the strap is facing up along the entire strap and that it's not twisted. Place one top inside the other, lining up the side seams. You can't really pin or clip around the top because of how the straps are. As you sew, take it slow and line up the top edges as you go. You will sew around these strap ends where you already tacked them down, along the neck and arm curves, all with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance along the curves with pinking shears. Turn the piece right sides out, making sure the ties are on the outside. Iron the seam along the top, making it as smooth and neat as possible. Now it's time to attach the skirt with a French seam. Place the skirt inside the top so the lining and the wrong side of the skirt are touching. The skirt is bigger around than the top, so evenly space the excess around as you clip the layers together. Sew the top and bottom together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, making small gathers in the skirt as you go. At this point, it will look like you sewed the skirt part on backwards, but that is correct. Flip it around so the top and skirt are right sides together. Sew along the folded edge again just outside the first seam to finish the French seam. Adjust it as you go to keep everything smooth. Flip everything right sides out and you are technically done. But if you want to add some trim, place it right above where the skirt attaches and sew it down all the way around the dress. I sewed mine twice, once near the top of the trim and another time about a 1/4 inch below the first. Overlap the edges of the trim in the back of the dress. So there you have it, a really cute dress, and it's not hard to make once you get the concept of it. And I actually whipped up a second version. I used the last bit of the fabric that was left over from the patchwork skirts I made last month, along with a pearl snap shirt that I used for the bottom portion, and it just turned out so cute. And it's just a whole different take on this dress. It looks totally different, but it was done using the exact same tutorial and techniques. The second dress took me less than 2 hours to make because I wasn't having to worry about trying to film every step and all of that. So it's a quick afternoon project, and I hope that you give it a try. It is super versatile, and if you do give it a try, make sure to share a picture with me using the hashtag Whitney Sews. If you want to see some other clothing tutorials from me, I will have one linked right over here for the matching patchwork skirts that I made for me and Peyton. I have a personal channel where you can see more of me and my kids and my family and all of that. And you can subscribe to that channel by clicking our picture right down here. And I hope you come back next Wednesday for another new video. Until then, happy sewing!